All right, it's Friday night, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in today on Stand Up, Stand Out America. Today, joining me on our podcast tonight is Joe Kent, the one and only. He is one of our endorsed candidates out in Washington State. Joe, welcome to our show. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. We know that this race for you is super important. It's important for this country. Tell us, how are things looking out there? I know you had to fight during the primary. I was watching that. I mean, you could have lost it there, but listen, the Patriots came through for you. How is it looking now into the general?
Well, hey, great to see you. Great to be with you. Things are looking really good. Like you said, it was a hard-fought primary. We had a jungle primary, six-way split. They threw about $8 million against me. But, hey, because of the Patriots on the ground and because we got out there and we knocked on doors and we actually engaged with people, we were able to pull through the primary. We're looking strong right now. The Democrats are dumping a bunch of money into the district. But, it's a conservative district and people have had enough. I mean, their wages are being stolen by inflation. Crime's out of control here. We're right between Portland and Seattle, failing sanctuary cities. So people have just had enough of this Democrat agenda, what's happening in the classroom with our children. So I think we are going to have a very big turnout this cycle. I think we're also going to have a lot of Democrats and a lot of independents coming across the aisles. I'm actually just wrapping up a series of town halls and rallies with Tulsi Gabbard. She came out here to help get the word out to independent-minded Democrats that, hey, there's no moderation on the Democrat side anymore, that if you want to fight to put your country first, if you want to fight to preserve our God-given liberties, that, hey, this is the home for you. So I'm excited.
That is excellent. I'm so glad to hear that. Joe, that is a sentiment that I'm hearing. I'm actually over 9 states. I work for the America Project. And when I've, been on the ground, just doing engagement and outreach, that's what I'm hearing from people. I think leadership, these elitists that we talk about have been in office for so many years that they have lost the communication. There's a gap. They do what they want up here. And then the people down here, their voices are not really being represented or being heard. I'm hearing that it's a sentiment across the country. People are actually, I'm sure that you're finding this out when you knock on their door. They're like, oh, wow, you came to talk to me? Like they really are surprised that somebody's actually knocking on their door for real. They don't have to just watch you on a commercial or hear you on a Facebook. That you actually are coming out to the community and talking to people about what their concerns are right now. And you're right. Inflation's a big concern. Crime is a concern. Open borders are concerned. Every policy that Joe Biden has put his finger on, right, and he's destroying this country. And people are seeing that. It's no more the party line things anymore. I think people are really tired of that. And Joe, I am so looking forward, 2 weeks away now, and we've got to take back this country no matter what. We've got to get our America First candidates, people who believe in the policies that that President Trump went and advocated for. And that's what we need to see. We need to see that on the ground. People are hurting out there. I just came back from Milwaukee, and there's people hurting, Joe. They're hurting. They said there's abandoned buildings that have been here forever since, these grown 20-something, 18-year-old kids are telling me these abandoned buildings have been here since I was little. They said there's no jobs. We just want a job. Some of them have been in and out of prison. They don't want to go back to prison. They said, we don't want that life. We want a job. We have a family. We want to provide. We don't care to be rich. We just want to be able to provide. You're hearing this from just regular people out there that are really hurting in the community. So my job is to go and just kind of connect the dots and say, well, I don't know if you voted, not voted, but if you look at people who are in office, connect the dots, the policies they put out is what affects your community. So it's awakening those people. And I hope that that's what's happening for you in Washington as well. Washington State, going out there and telling these people, having these tough conversations that nobody's had with them.
That's exactly it. I mean, there's a lot of folks who I think have just checked out from politics. President Trump did a great job. 2016, I think, really reawakening a lot of people to say, hey, I do have a voice, because the Republicans and the Democrats hadn't been getting the job done. And that's really what Trump and America First represents. But it's even more on display now after 2020. I mean, even people who weren't politically engaged before, they really couldn't define, like, what is America First? They know now what America Last looks like. They remember 2 years ago what gas. Right. They remember that they weren't being absolutely crushed every time they walked in the grocery store just trying to put food on the table. They remember, crime didn't used to be this way. You didn't used to worry about walking down the street in most cities, most suburban communities. But now, because of open borders and open prisons, which is the Democrat agenda, lock, stock, and barrel, people have real concerns about their safety. You see it every day. What's happening in the classrooms? I mean, COVID woke up a lot of people because they had to get on Zoom with their kids, and now they see what their children are being taught in schools. And here in Washington State, we have fully embraced, unfortunately and tragically, this gender ideology, what's called gender affirming care, which you actually heard Joe Biden have that conversation with that trans activist with. That's our policy here in Washington State, and people are absolutely furious about it. So, and the thing is, I'm like, hey, I'm a Republican. I'm the Republican nominee. I'm endorsed by Trump. But look, what I'm talking about, this isn't Republican or Democrat. The fact that we want to be able to provide for ourselves, have a decent economy that supports the working class. We want to have secure streets, and we don't want our kids sexualized in the classroom. Tell me, does that sound like a Republican or a Democrat policy to you? Like, that's just very common sense American.
It's common sense.
But unfortunately, it's just common sense. Yeah. But, unfortunately, the Democrat Party, they fully embrace this. I say this all the time when I talk to Democrats and independents. I'm like, look, can you name for me the one Democrat candidate or politician that is actually advocating against any of these policies that are hurting people right now? They fully embrace them. I mean, I wish we had a moderate wing of the Democrat Party. I think our country would be more healthy if we did. But that's just not the reality right now. So we are getting a lot of folks coming over to our side that are just saying, look, I've had enough. I got to get engaged. You're the only person that's, number one, coming and talking to me, knocking on the door like you talked about. And then number two, what you're saying makes sense. You're not talking about some wonky politic idea. You're not talking about like some pie in the sky, utopian dream. Like, this is reality. So it's inspiring. I'm excited.
This is great. It's great to hear that. So, Joe, one of the things is I met you very early on. I don't think you were a candidate at the time. I don't remember. It's been years. And I just, and so I've seen you kind of, come into this political scene, and I hear you speak, and I was just like, I remember telling a colleague of mine, and I said, man, this guy just didn't walk up and say, I'm going to run for politics. Like, you're really intelligent. And I was like blown away. I was like, this guy is really intelligent. So I really love that, is that you bring some experience to the table. You've served our country. Can you tell our audience, because we are big on law enforcement and our military. So you have a background in military. Can you tell our audience a little bit about that background?
Yeah, definitely. So I was honored to serve for 20 years, a little bit over 20 years, actually, for our country. I joined the Army right when I was 18, was an infantryman in Ranger Regiment, and then went to Special Forces, became a Green Beret right as the attacks 9/11 happened. So I did 11 combat deployments as a Green Beret for this country. Greatest honor of my life. I intended on continuing to serve the country until about 3 years ago. My late wife, who was also in the military, was killed fighting ISIS in Syria 1 month after President Trump tried to get our troops out of Syria the first time. So had the administrative state, Jim Mattis, and all these other unelected bureaucrats not stabbed President Trump and disobeyed our Constitution, quite frankly, my late wife and 3 other Americans wouldn't have lost their lives there. They were supposed to be out. And so that's when I resigned from serving our country overseas, came back home. Our 2 sons were 1 and 3 at the time. My intention was just to really focus on them, return to civilian life. But I had an opportunity to meet President Trump, and I told him, I said, hey, you don't know who I am, Mr. President, but I've been fighting these wars under, you're the 3rd president I've been fighting these wars under, and you're the only one that's getting it right. Because Trump said, hey, we don't need to be over here forever. We need to take out our enemies. We need to get the heck out of here, because we got no business doing regime change, getting into new wars. And he hit the nail on the head. But I saw firsthand how he was being undermined at the senior levels within our Department of Defense. I worked in the intelligence community. I was in the CIA for a little bit. At the CIA, State Department, you name it, they were actively working against him, which shocked me as someone who came in the military and took the oath when I was 18 years old. So I just shared that with President Trump, but Trump's an unconventional guy. And so a week or 2 later, I got a phone call from Trump's team, and they said, hey, we don't know what you told the boss, but he wants to hear more of it. So come join our team, help us out. I worked heavily on the Trump 2020 campaign. And I only got into this because my congresswoman, the woman who I voted for, who's a Republican, voted for Trump's impeachment. So that was kind of how I got flung into politics. But yeah, it's been a wild ride, but I feel like this is a continuation of my service.
Number one, we thank you for your service, and we are, our condolences obviously to your late wife. We don't, I come from a military, not myself, but my husband is, also veteran. My 2 brothers are veterans. And so, I know that military life, and, you sign your name on the dotted line, and you are owned by the government, and you have to go do no matter what the president tells you, which president it is, or whoever it is, you are now under a command staff, and you go and you protect and serve this country. And that's what we expect you to do, is keep our country safe so that we continue to have our freedoms and our liberties, right? And so now we're in dangerous times where we have a woke military. Things that they're not letting you just do your job as a soldier. They're now trying to dictate a political regime upon you and political ideologies. And that's not what the military is about. Military is about is keeping our country safe and protect it, from foreign and domestic, terrorist or, any kind of liabilities, right? So, I mean, those are the oaths that you take. So we thank you for your service. That is why you are definitely came under our radar, is the fact that you did have a military background. And of course, we support anybody that has a military or law enforcement background. We just love anybody who serves this country. We're not saying it's a perfect system, but you know what? When you do that, when you take that step and you go and you defend this country, no matter what, knowing that you may not even come back. When you walk out that door, I have a husband who's in law enforcement. When he walks out that door every single day, especially with law enforcement under attack right now, I know that Joe, he may not come back one day. When I married into this over, 20 years ago, that was the thing. It was like, I always knew people ask me, how do you deal with it? He's an undercover. I mean, how do you deal with this? He's not there, doesn't do that job anymore. But at the time when I married him, he was undercover. And they said, how do you do that? And I said, I don't know. I just do. I know what I'm married. I know the person that I love. I know the person that I respect, and he's my husband. And so I know what I married. I know that I'm not going to live here in fear. I know that he can walk out the door and maybe not one day knock. I can get that knock on the door saying he's not coming back. That's his job. He loves his job. He loves it. It's what he loves to do. So if I was going to marry him, I had to accept that that's the job he loves to do. So it's the same thing for you when you go and, go to these wars. You may not come home. You now have a loved one that didn't come home, Joe, and now you're going in and going into a whole different political arena right now and being able to make a difference. What I interviewed J.R. Majeski the other day, and I told him, when you guys are out there running for Congress, yes, you're going to go represent the constituents in your community in Washington state. But the decisions that you make, Joe, in Washington, D.C. are going to affect the rest of us. Every bill that gets written up what you vote for is going to affect the whole United States. So yes, you're representing and doing things for your own constituents in Washington state, but they affect all of the United States. So as I go into that, tell me a little bit about, you're America First. I've heard you, but I know our audience maybe doesn't know everything. So what are the main policies that you are that you're running on, number one, and what is it that you want to go into Washington, D.C. and do first? Because there's so many issues and problems. What is the Joe Kent thing that drives you, that says, I'm going to get to Washington, D.C., and this is the first thing I'm going to tackle? So first, tell us a little bit about the platform, and then tell us what is the most significant thing and importance to you that you're going to go tackle for us in the United States.
The platform is very simple. It is America First. We put our country first. We don't do what the liberal international world order needs. We're not trying to serve anyone else but American citizens. So that involves everything from bringing back our jobs from overseas, sealing off our southern border, making sure that we have law and order once again, making sure that we're not looking for the next foreign entanglement to get deeply involved in. That's the key tenets, I think, of the America First agenda. The problem that we have going into this next Congress is that we still have Joe Biden in the executive office. And so our mission right now is to end one-party rule in Washington, D.C. For the last 2 years, Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer have had their way with America, and look how far we've fallen. So when we get elected, I think we're going to have a red wave. I'm pretty confident that we are. Our job, though, once we get that mandate from the American people, is to fight one-party rule as hard as we can. If we have the majority in Congress, hopefully we'll get it in the Senate, but at least if we have it in Congress, we control the purse strings. And so for me, number one thing we're going to impeach Joe Biden. We're going to impeach Kamala Harris. This isn't just political. This is very, very justified. I mean, Biden, on his first day, he opened up an invasion on our southern border. I mean, he's the commander in chief. The guy's got one job: make sure we don't get invaded. Well, he actually encouraged the invasion of our country, and he's done nothing in the last 2 years but continue to make that problem worse. Kamala Harris, she's the deputy of the border. Biden, Afghanistan was a debacle. It was a 20-year debacle. It was a bipartisan debacle, quite frankly. But Biden left Americans on the battlefield in Afghanistan. Like, bare minimum, all he had to do was make sure we brought all of our people home. Yeah, it's bad we left all the equipment there. there. The withdrawal was handled terribly. But the fact that we left Americans on the battlefield, they lost 13 on the way out. No one's been held accountable. That's an impeachable right there as well. Biden has also been caught red-handed with Hunter Biden. His deep corruption with Ukrainian oligarchs, his deep corruption with the Chinese Communist Party. Just 2 weeks ago, we found out that Biden was sending our strategic petroleum reserves at a time when our energy is absolutely in crisis here in America. He's strategic petroleum reserves to China. So we're going to impeach him on very real grounds. Same thing with Kamala Harris. She was one of the lead fundraisers of BLM and Antifa while they were murdering citizens on our streets, burning down our cities, and she's never been held accountable. Same thing with Mayorkas down at the border. I mean, he's the one that's controlling these day-to-day operations of flooding our country with fentanyl and with illegal immigrants. He's getting impeached. So is Merrick Garland for weaponizing the FBI against parents that show up at school board meetings. So our big agenda items for the first 2 years, it's impeachment. It's every committee becomes an oversight committee, and Joe Biden's agenda, it's dead. It's DOA on January of 2023. He doesn't get anything through. What I also want to do is I also want to put an ultimatum up for Joe Biden. What he's done with U.S. energy, day one after he opened the border, he killed off Keystone XL. He stopped exploratory drilling. And since then, gas prices are skyrocketing. We're at about $5.50 throughout my district. That is destroying the working class. It's destroying the middle class. So I want to say to Biden on day one, hey, we're not going to sign off on the federal budget until you unleash U.S. energy again. Because 2 years ago, people could afford to put gas in the tank. They could afford groceries. They can't right now. If you're going to choke the American people every single day at the gas pump, guess what? We're going to choke off the federal government. And this is the way that we have to start using the appropriations process while we have Biden in the White House still.
Amen. This is why I love you, Joe, because we need you in Congress. Like, we need you. This is what we need. This is what the American people are asking for. When I talk to people on the ground, this is exactly what they're saying. You know, the movement, the patriots out there, they feel discouraged. They feel like, oh, you know, what's a point? You know, with all the election integrity, what's a point of voting? Listen, we're saying no, guys. It's very important. You have to go out there and vote in massive amount of numbers to break algorithms. You have to go and bypass this system to get people such, you know, like you into office, because this is what we need. We need those fighting voices to make these strong cases, right, in Congress to say, this is what the American people are asking for. You're exactly right. You know, Texas, we've been affected. A lot of our Hispanic community was affected down in South Texas. They rely on those oil and gas, you know, drilling. They rely on the pipeline. That's where a lot of them are, you know, they leave. I mean, I have a lot of friends that were doing that. They were worried. There was people in the Hispanic, in some of these Hispanic communities that were saying, I've never really voted before, or I've never voted Republican, but my son says I have to, because if not, he's going to lose his job. And he lost his job when he, you know, and so they did vote, but they feel like they didn't, you know, it was taken from them. They lost their jobs. Listen, and that's the problem. Look, we have people that don't have jobs. We have an open border. The open border here in Texas is affecting our healthcare community. It's affecting all of our border towns, and it's affecting the educational system, because they're inundated now with all the children that are coming into the to the school system, and then we got to take care of them, right, medically and on the education side. Yeah. Meanwhile, our own kids are being, you know, are get put aside, right? They get put aside, and then they're getting indoctrinated with an agenda we don't care to you know, to teach them. Thank God I pulled out my kids. I've homeschooled my kids. My older kid's already graduated from Clemson. We homeschooled him, and my second one is homeschooled. He's going to be graduating soon. So, you know, but I worry about all these other kids that don't, and the parents that don't have that option to homeschool. And so, Joe, but these are real things that are going on. Listen, somebody made it, they kind of were being jokefully with me. They said, you know, hey, Bianca, you should run for vice president, or maybe, you know, be vice president one day. And I was like, okay, first of all, I'm like a patriot on the ground. And then I look at Kamala Harris, Joe, and I go, well, crap, she really is. She didn't raise the bar at all. So, I mean, if she can be vice president, I think anybody can be vice president. So I was like, I think I'm a little bit smarter than her. You know, I've even said, I was like, you know, the people, the elitists, they don't want a Bianca Gracia in office. You know, I fought really hard in my Senate district to be a state senator. But I said, listen, you know, the worst thing you could possibly have is a Hispanic female saying shut down that damn border. Okay, if I was governor, I'd be closing it down. I'd be saying, Joe Biden, come and arrest me. literally, because I am invaded. I would have said, hey, you know what? I'm declaring an invasion because over 32 sheriffs in this, in the border towns are asking me, they're saying, hey, we are being invaded. If you don't listen to your local leaders, then what kind of a leader are you, right? They know what's going on. So that's the thing. I'm like, can you imagine what kind of message that would send to all of the Latin America, that some Hispanic female is saying you can't come in? It's not the same that I'm saying I don't want you here. I'm saying come in here the legal way. First of all, people ask me this all the time, Joe. They say all the time to me. I was at the Trump rally in Robstown, Texas this past week. I was born and raised in Robstown, Texas. Okay. I'm one of the co-founders of Latinos for Trump. That was a huge thing for me. That little town is 12,000 people. It votes predominantly Democrat still, like 68 to 70% still Democrat. That was a huge, huge move on President Trump to go to that little town. And I did 7 interviews with people, and they literally tell me, well, about this immigration. They always want to talk about the immigration status. Well, they picked the wrong person to, talk to that, to talk to about that. Because I tell them, I said, what you guys don't want to talk about. It's not about the poor people who are looking for a job. You guys don't want to talk about the women and children who are being raped to get here, because we've seen those testimonies. We've seen the testimonies of a child who's, at 12 years old, it's been raped already 8 to 18 times on the way here. That is what you refuse to talk about. That's why I'm hard on the border, because I am a voice for those that are voiceless, that are being sold into cartels, that are being, human trafficked into this United States. You're not talking about those people. You're not talking about the women and the children that are being raped to get here. That's why I prefer for them to come in legally, so they don't have to go through that. So they don't have to come to this United States and be sold into slavery, that are being told you're going to be shipped out to New York, you're going to be shipped out to Chicago, you're going to be put in a restaurant, in a nail salon, wherever it is. You're going to go push drugs on this street corner. You're going to go turn tricks for us, and make money. That's what you're not talking about. Those are the realities, Joe. Those are the realities. Plus all the fentanyl that's coming in, and it's killing people at a higher rate than anybody has ever seen before. That's the reality of an open border. It's not so much you want to try to use, the left wants to try to use this little narrative that they've always used for decades. Oh, it's just the poor people, and they're so poor and they just want a job. Well, great. Let them come in through the nice front door. Listen, when you die and go to heaven, I'm sorry, but there's no open borders in heaven. There is a gate. You're either going to get in or you're not. Okay. So even God in the kingdom has a gate. Okay. Come in through the right, appropriate way. Now, Joe, what we may have to do is look at reforming the way that they do come through. We have to come. Listen, our organization, I'm going to tell you right now, our organization, we do not advocate for amnesty or citizenship. We never have, and we never will. What I am open to, what we always have said, is we are open to working with Congress on coming up with some kind of reform system where it makes it easier for them to come and go. A lot of these illegals, Joe, that have come here, they are looking for work, the good ones, right? They're looking for work and wanting to seek a job. But a lot of them want to go back to their countries. They want to go back and take the money back home and improve what, their lifestyle over in their countries. That's what they want to do. But when they come here illegally, now, guess what? They can't go home. You know how many illegals can't go home? Their mother dies. They can't even go to their mother's funeral because they may not be, well, now, it's open border, but they don't want to run the risk of going back home. Why can't we make it easier where these people can come in, they come and do their job, and they can go back to their country? But we at least vet them all. They're not looking for citizenship. And if they are looking to come over here, come in the right way, the appropriate way. Let's make the program a little easier, less convoluted, and all this bureaucracy and red tape and 600 pages you got to fill out. Let's make it to where we can truly vet them, let them come and go if they need to, but we always know who's coming and going. We need to know who's coming and going into our country. Yeah. The good people that want to come, Joe, they don't want to come and hurt. But right now, when Trump said there's bad hombres, there is bad hombres coming across that border. They're the
Yeah.
ones that don't want to be detected. They're the ones that, come in their camouflage, that you see coming in camouflage with backpacks. They're coming in with either drugs or, they're armed, coming in, and they send these caravans over here to lock down our border patrol agents and put them there to fill out forms so that they can come in the other way. So there is bad hombres coming down. That's a reality, Joe. Those are things. And so when you get to Congress, we are going to come knocking on your door. Latinos for America First is going to come knocking on your door. You will see me in your office.
Please do.
I'm going to be coming and asking you as a congressman to look at, let's have real solutions for this illegal immigration going on. Let's talk about all these, because now we're going to have all these illegals in this country. I don't believe in citizenship, and I don't believe in amnesty. I just don't.
No.
I really don't. Never have.
Yeah.
We're not going to reward these people for coming in here illegally,
exactly
whether they knew it or didn't know it. Okay. I'm sorry about that. But whether you knew it or didn't know it, it's still illegal. You still did. It was still illegal. But we need to come up with some system that works and makes everybody happy. And you're not always going to make everybody happy, but the majority happy. Make it to where they can still be here. They can contribute, pay taxes, but they don't ever get that citizenship. Okay. So they can go back to their countries if they need to, go help their other families who are still there, do those kind of things and give them a permit to work, whatever it is. But we need to come up with some better solutions for these people. And open borders is not it. It's not it, Joe. We have to stop that. And, I love your platform. I love the issues. If you ever need us to come up there because, you guys have hearings and you need us to come up there and testify on certain things that we have knowledge on, believe me, we are more than welcome to. We have been training our Latinos for America First to go and testify. I think it's very important because Hispanics haven't been showing up. They haven't been showing up and voicing. And I think that, hey, we need to also have a seat at the table to be able to talk about all of the issues that are going on in our communities as well, because our community is America. It is everybody's community. We're not just like, okay, well, this is just a Hispanic community, even though you may have communities that are that where Hispanics live predominantly, but it's America. It's still America. We're part of America. We need to do things that work for everyone. In Milwaukee, when I was, went there, I was sitting with black community, black leaders, black pastors. They're having the same concerns as we are, Joe. Yeah. We had this conversation everywhere. And this guy said, hey, the media makes it seem that there's like, we're Hispanics, whites, and blacks at this table having lunch together, talking about stuff that's going on in the community, right? They said, we're having a great conversation. We're not even fighting. We're actually agreeing on things. But why does the media try to, put us against each other like it's a black and a white and a black and a Hispanic? They want to divide us. They woke up to that, Joe. They woke up to it. And they said, we actually all want the same thing. These are the conversations we need to be having. And so, Joe, this is so important. I mean, look, we have an outreach. We're nationally known as an organization, and we are definitely promoting and pushing, that people get out the vote out in Washington State, in your district, that they go out there and they show up in numbers, to our Hispanic community, out there. I do know there is some Hispanic activists out in your area. I do know that.
Yep.
There's also Brexit leaders out there that have been working on Brexit. They can't really go and help candidates per se, but they do focus on policy. And their policies are our policies, right? It's the common sense stuff that they care about. So, to those people out listening, if you know people in Washington State, if you know people that can help Joe, that what is it right now that you feel? Do you still feel you need block walkers? Is it you're needing to still raise money to send out text messages? What is it that you're still needing out there right now, Joe?
We always need money. I don't take any corporate PAC money, and the Democrats just dumped like $2.5 million in the district. But I know the economy's horrible right now. So when people give me $5, $10, $15, that's really what funds the campaign. So that's very helpful. But also if people are in the district, or if you know people in the district, reach out, make sure they're registered to vote, make sure they have a plan to vote. Our ballots got sent out. We unfortunately still do mail out ballots here, and we vote for like 3 weeks. It's not a great system, but it's very easy, tragically, to get a voter's to get get an actual ballot if you need one. So make sure anyone you know in the district in Washington State that they're registered to vote, they have a plan to vote, and they have a plan to get it there by November 8th. And we always need people to come out and bang on doors because that's how we won this thing. So if people are in the district and they want to volunteer, go to joekentforcongress.com. They can donate there. They can volunteer to come out and knock on doors and just really spread the word. I'm doing town halls every single day until election day. So I'm all over the district. I'm at like 3 different events today. So if people want to come out and hear me talk and ask me questions, because I always do Q&A, please come on out. I have one more event with Tulsi Gabbard tonight in Vancouver at 6.
That's awesome. Listen, town halls are the way to go. I've been telling people, look, the rallies, I think patriots are we're just tired of the big rally. I mean, the big rally, it's town halls is where it's at, where you get, 100 people, 150 people, 50 people in. It's small groups. They're leaders. You get those, you get them to go talk to their neighbors. That's very effective. Town hall, we got to go back to the old school, have real conversations. It allows you to really sit with people and have communication and find out what's happening. What might be important for one neighbor is not important for the other neighbor, but you get the gist of what they all still need at the end of the day. They get to really meet you, shake your hand, talk to you, ask you questions. Town halls are great. So I'm excited that you're doing that. Where can people find you on social media as well?
Yeah, joekentforcongress.com, and then joekent16JAN19 on Twitter, Getter, Truth, Instagram, all those, Facebook. But joekentforcongress.com. There's a link tree to all my social media on there.
That's great. That's great, Joe. And one last thing, we're going to definitely send out something and make sure that people in Washington State do know that they can, go visit your website, donate. I always tell our audience is grassroots. We don't, obviously have big, crazy people, but we have all the grassroots. We have patriots that follow us. We do very well, especially in our Getter. I love my Getter family. Okay. They're so active on Getter. And I always tell them every time I interview, someone, a candidate from across the country, I tell them, buy them a cup of coffee. That's why I say, look, guys, we have a lot of candidates, but if you buy them a cup of coffee, $5, $10, it goes a long way. I know it. I've run a campaign before, and those $5, $10, $20, they add up very quickly. If you get 100 people that do $20, it adds up very quickly, and it allows you to get more yard signs. It allows you to send out text messages. It allows you to put gas in your car so that you can keep moving to the next, the next precinct, the next little district. So all of that really matters. Your road signs. There's a lot that goes into a campaign that people don't realize. And so that's really important. So I always say, guys, go on there and buy Joe a cup of coffee, maybe 2 cups of coffee, right? As we are in inflation, people. So a cup of coffee is not $5 anymore. It might be a little bit more than $5. So I would say, hey, buy them 1, buy them 2. But that's what we need. We need to help out our candidates. We need to help them in every which way that we can. And Joe, I think I have to go back through my records. I want to say that our PAC wrote you a check.
You did. Thank you very much.
Okay. I couldn't remember if we did or didn't. We were waiting to get some more money in, and we did. So we're going to be sending out another check to you on our behalf of Latinos for America First. What I love about, I will say this because a lot of people get freaked out. We are not a super PAC. We are a multi-candidate PAC, so I can work with candidates. It's why I did a multi-candidate PAC. People say, well, you can make more money in super PACs. I said, I didn't create a PAC so I could get rich or something, so I could raise all these millions of dollars. It's not what I'm about. I want to be able to help candidates. It's what I do. It's what I've since 2016, when I saw what was happening to America First candidates, when I saw what happened to Trump and the way they treated him, I said, we have some very good people out there that want to really go do the right thing for this country. That's who I want to help. It's not about the millions of dollars for me. It's about taking the grassroots, that grassroots money and saying, hey, I'm going to help you out here with so much money. That gives you a whole box full of new yard signs to pass out. That goes a long way. It's better than when nobody gives you anything at all. So that's why we are very good about, about working with candidates. I really wanted to make sure that we didn't lose that touch, right? I don't want to be, it's like the elitists up here and then you're down here, and it's, you lose communication. No, I want to be able to talk to the candidates and say, hey, what do you need help with? What can we help you with? And how can we help you? And not only that, with grassroots work, we also want to help you with money if we can, right? We raise the money, we want to funnel it to you so that we can help you make sure that you get elected in your district. So that's important to us. But Joe, from the bottom of our heart at Latinos for America First, and here at Stand Up, Stand Out America, that's why I came up with this podcast, to make sure that my voice gets heard, but also to make sure that people that follow me know who you are. Because, you'd be surprised, Joe, that people think, oh, well, everybody knows Bianca, or no, they really don't. Oh, everybody knows Joe. Well, they really don't. I went to Milwaukee and I sat with this Black community. They didn't even know who Candace Owens was. I was like, how do you not know who Candace Owens is with millions of followers? They didn't know. They had never heard of her. I said, y'all better go watch what BLM has done. They were furious as a Black community. You can imagine. They were furious because I said, do you know that they raised $80 million? Go watch that new, it's like a documentary that Candace Owens did on BLM, and watch and see what they did with the money. And it didn't go to the Black community. You're wondering why you have abandoned buildings and not community centers that can help these homeless kids and educate them, teach them to just even fill out a job application. Some of these kids can't even fill out a job application. These are simple things, Joe, that people are struggling and hurting. This is what they want. They want to work, but they didn't get the best education. They made bad choices. They want to work, though, now. They want to provide. They don't want to be homeless. They don't want to be strung up on drugs. This is what we have to do. And I'm like, but how do we do it? We have to educate people. So believe it or not, within these podcasts, we are able to get your voice out to people that may not have known who Joe Kent is, but it helps us get your message out. People that follow us from your area, or maybe have family in your area. I think I have family in your area. I don't know if they live in your district. I haven't even asked them, but I have to find out if they do, because they came from Texas. They lived there for a very long time. But no, maybe it's not Washington State. Sorry, it's Oregon. They live in Oregon. Sorry, but there is people that follow us, Joe, and it's important because if they know somebody in Washington State, they can say, hey, go check out Joe Kent. We saw him on this podcast. Make sure that you get out. And that's how we share each other's message. We have to help each other out, get the message out. And that's why this podcast to me is so important, to make sure that we let people know who you are, what you're running for, and that we're supporting you, and that we want them to support you as well, in whether it's a donation or whether if they live in your area, they can go out and do what they got to do for you. So Joe, keep up the good fight. I want to see you with a very nice victory. And listen, another thing is, I'm going to ask our patriots to keep you and your children in prayer.
Thank you.
You not only have served our country, but you are a father, and they don't have their mom anymore. And I know it's got to be rough on them. They're little. Dad's gone a lot. This has got to be tough, and we've got to keep them in prayer as well. Sometimes people don't realize that when you sacrifice to fight for your country, there's things that, your loved ones, they end up carrying, they get the bad end of the stick sometimes, right? And so we need to keep your little ones in prayer, and you in prayer, to make sure that, the Lord just keeps you with just a super hedge of protection, and your family with a super hedge of protection, and that your kids, still know that daddy's there, and that daddy's still going to be there, and that daddy's not going to leave them, and that you're going to still take care of them, and that you're doing what you're doing for their future.
For them.
So we're going to definitely keep you guys in prayer. And we just thank you because, listen, you've already given up a whole lot, and you're giving it up again. You're from the War Room Posse. Love my War Room Posse. So, again, thank you, Joe, so much. I know you're very busy. We want you to get back out and quit talking to me. We want you to get back out on the ground, go do what you got to do. And I appreciate you coming on today on Stand Up, Stand Out America. Give us any last words right now as we are in early voting. Any last words you want people, just leave them with that one message that you want them to resonate, to get them up and get them going.
This is our country. Let's take it back. I mean, there's no one coming to save us but us. We're the vast majority of the country. If we all get out there and vote, we win. They can't beat us with cheating if we all show up. And so really just get out there, get your friends, your neighbors, your churches, communities, everybody activated, and we'll take our country back. It's that simple. There's no simple solution, but it is also at the same time very simple. It just requires constant engagement. And I'm confident with your support and with the support of everybody out there that's a patriot, we're going to do it. We're going to take our country back. So God bless. And I really appreciate you having me on today.
Yes, you're welcome. And Kent, one last time, where can everybody find you?
JoeKentForCongress.com.
And where, what about on social media? Can they go follow you?
Sure. Joe Kent 16 JAN19, Twitter, Getter, on everything.
Wonderful. We love you, Joe. We're going to be praying for you. And I will fall to my knees when I hear that you win. I'm going to be thanking the good Lord that he's pushed you across that finish line. Washington State, you here, get out the vote. Call to action, get out the vote. Go help Joe Kent. Sign up. Look for him on his website. Get involved. Get involved, guys. We've got to show up in numbers to our Hispanic community. Tú sabes lo que tienes que hacer. Tenemos que votar en números grandes. Estamos con Joe Kent. Guys, I cannot stress enough. Esta elección es tan importante. We need to go vote for Joe Kent, guys. Él va a representar a nuestra comunidad. It is super important, guys. So get this message out. Share it with your friends. Hispanics, you know that we travel in groups. We don't travel single. We have, abuela and aunt and, hijos and hijas. We have all kinds of relatives. We have la comadre next door. Get them out. Tell them it's important. If you have fled from a communist socialist country, you do not want a communist socialist country here in the United States. People like Joe Kent are fighting so that we do not become that communist country that you have fled from. This is why it's important for our Latino community all across the United States to get out and vote. They're counting on us. We have the numbers. We are the majority minority now, guys. We don't typically show up to vote. You see the tabloids. You see those headlines. Latinos exiting the Democrat Party. Guess what, guys? The time is now that Latinos are going to elect good, righteous representatives that are going to represent us and fight for us so that we can have jobs, we can have a good education. We don't believe in killing our babies. We don't believe in our babies being indoctrinated with CRT or having gender, surgeries. We don't believe in that stuff. So guys, Joe Kent right here, this is our candidate. This is why Latinos for America First has decided a long time ago. We knew what we saw in him. He was fighting for our country. Now, you know that 34% of our military and armed forces are Latinos. This is why we believe in Joe Kent, because he went on that battleground with y'all to fight for this country, to fight for our freedoms and liberties, and he's going to do it once again as he gets into Congress. And Joe Kent has told you right here, he's going to listen when he gets into Congress and Bianca Gracia goes and knocks on that door. He's going to listen because he's going to know that we showed up to vote, that we showed up and we gave him our vote, that we are relying on him to be our voice, to put jobs back on the market, to cut this inflation down, to get that oil production going so that our people can go back to work. That's what we need, the inflation to be cut down, and just to make sure that we keep our community safe. No more crime. These things are common sense things, guys. So please, everybody out there, doesn't matter where you're at. If you know somebody in Washington State that's in Joe Kent's district, contact your familia, contact your, whoever, your amigos, tell them to get out the vote for Joe Kent. This is who we're endorsing. We're fully behind him. You heard us. Go buy him a cup of coffee. Go knock on a couple of doors for him. That's what we're asking. So Joe Kent, we thank you. Muchas gracias de nuestra comunidad. We thank you for being with us. Go back out there, do your thing, Joe. And hopefully next time I interview you, I will be calling you our congressman. And we just love you so much. Again, thank you for doing this, Joe. God bless you. God bless the state of Washington, and God bless the United States of America. as always.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much.
Great to be with you. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Peace out, guys. We'll see y'all next
Take care.
Friday on Stand Up, Stand Out America.